Good morning to you, Nigel. Update us on where you are with your own crusade.
Well, I'm heading off to Clacton, actually, because that's the closest seaside arcade, I think. I love that report. I love seaside arcades, and it's one element. But you see, part of my campaign is because not only have 5,000 bank branches closed around the country since 2015, but increasingly, the banks do not want to accept cash from small businesses, and it's one of the reasons they're closing so many people down. So as far as my campaign's concerned, well, on a personal level, I'm getting ever angrier with NatWest and Coutts. I put in a subject access request to NatWest, the parent of Coutts, to try and get personal information. They've now come back and said the situation is complex, and therefore they won't answer me until nearly the end of October. I wrote to the Information Commissioner's office to report a breach because Dame Alison Rose clearly broke GDPR rules by discussing details of my bank account with the BBC. They told me my situation is complex and it might take a long time to sort out. So they're trying to kick the whole thing into the long grass. So my situation is still very much stalemated. However, on the bigger picture, Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, clearly realising that with the possibility of up to 1 million people being debanked over the course of the last 4 years, that there is a national scandal here. He wrote a letter to the Financial Conduct Authority, the regulator of the industry, saying he wanted urgent action. And for once, they've actually done something. They've written to the 25 leading banks and building societies, demanding to know by the 25th of August how many accounts have been closed recently and what the reasons are. So we do at least now have a national debate going on. We've finally got the regulator to wake up to what's going on within the banking industry. And let's hope now that the door is open to some very real changes and reforms.
I'll tell you what really worries me about this, Nigel, is the idea that, potentially 250,000 accounts have been closed every year for the last 4 years, with no reason having to be given, and actually people being left without a voice. Now, you've got a profile, you've got a voice, you've raised the issue. If that hadn't have happened, we would have just carried on regardless, wouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the point, Stephen, is this. Why does it take me to blow the whistle on this? What were the FCA doing? What was the regulator doing? Well, I'll tell you, have a brief peek at their website, boasting about how many of them were going on pride marches, talking about the importance of LGBTQI community within financial services. I mean, they've all become politicised. They've all gone down this route, of woke corporatism and capitalism. And actually, what a bank needs to do, and yes, they're private businesses, but remember, our taxes went up to bail them out in 2008 and 2009. And you can't actually live in the modern world without a bank account. It's literally impossible. Even if GB News succeeds in keeping cash in the economy, you still need a basic bank account to pay the gas bill. So my real annoyance is that the regulator has been asleep at the wheel, too busy fighting political campaigns. And really, this should have been investigated a couple of years ago.
And look, you, as we've discussed, you very much highlighting the issue of what it would be like if you were debanked. Just tell our viewers and listeners what it would be like and what cash means to you if we were in a cashless society, and basically why you're putting your weight behind the Don't Kill Cash campaign.
A couple of points, really. Firstly, if we have a fully digitised financial system, not only would it leave us very vulnerable to cyber attack, and I mean, have a look at the fact that 40 million people's details have been hacked from the Electoral Commission website. We've learned that this week. So we leave ourselves highly vulnerable to our enemies. But above all, my big worry is this. It would open the door for the big brother state. Do you know already NatWest Bank are telling their customers not to buy cryptocurrencies, even though if they buy them through a firm like Coinbase, which is a registered company, and it should be a legal activity, banks already... You go into the bank today, guys, try and withdraw more than £1,000 in cash. They'll ask you what it's for. Well, it's your blooming money. And my worry is this. We would finish up, for example, with personal carbon credits. No. You can't book that flight to Marbella. You've used up your allowance for the year. This would be the ultimate potential form of Big Brother control of our lives. And that, I think, above all, is why it must be fought.
You see, that's interesting, because I'm someone, Nigel, who, I've got to be honest, I very rarely use cash, unless I'm up in Blackpool going to the arcades. You know, and there is progress in society, isn't there, where we are becoming more cashless, we are buying more things online, we're chip and pinning and all the rest of it like mad. But I suppose what we don't think about is that Big Brother implication, the idea that actually this can be used in a way that most of us don't even perceive.
Look, it happened in Canada. Remember the Canadian truckers? People who'd gone about their business legally for years. Suddenly, a vaccine mandate came in. Many of them didn't agree with it. They protested peacefully in Ottawa. And what did Justin Trudeau, the PM, do? He froze their bank accounts. You see, you know, this can be misused in very, very frightening ways. There's also a practical point here. You know, if you're a small trader, I was talking last week to a lady who runs a fish counter, you know, down on the beach in Kent. You know, brothers go and catch fish. She sells it at the roadside. Well, first point is the internet often doesn't blooming work. So even if you've got a credit card machine, you may not be able to take the payment. And that's true for Cumbria and all sorts of parts of the country. And secondly, if your average transaction is £7 or £8 and you're going through card machines, you're looking at 1 3/4, 2% commission on that money. That's a big chunk of your profit margin. And I'll bet you every penny in Lombard Street to an orange that if we went cashless, the fees for those cards for small businesses would go even higher. So there are many, many arguments as to why cash still... And Stephen, you're in London. You know, you go around London and everything is tapped with a card. But you get outside London, into our rural communities, our coastal communities, that is not the reality. So there are practical reasons why cash needs to stay. There are, I think, personal security, Big Brother implication reasons why cash should stay. And what I want to see, and this is not difficult, I want the Chancellor of the Exchequer, I want his next move to say that legal tender will remain legal tender. Simple as that.